Hey guys, it's Sean from Indonesia and I've got a reverted yellow variegated Monstera here that I'm going to be propagating for you guys. And in this episode, I'm going to be showing you how to get variegation back. But first of all, this is the white variegated Monstera, and in my hand here, this is the yellow variegated. And if you look down the node below, you'll see that it's got some variegation, although it put out a variegated leaf and then a green leaf, variegated and a green leaf. I actually got this plant as a cutting from a trade, so it's probably got very bad genetics to start with. No offense to the person who passed it to me, but I think we can also try to maximize the chance of getting a high quality variegation by cutting this back. But before I do that, I want to share the care tips real quick because it's been a while since I've done a video like this. So with the variegated Monstera, bright indirect light. If you give it low light, the leaves are going to start to etiolate, it's going to get smaller, and it's not going to fenestrate, and it might even revert in variegation. If you give it too much light, such as a bit of direct sunlight, you may bleach the leaves, and it may even burn. I give all my aeroids, it's a very chunky aeroid potting mix that fools them into thinking that they're climbing up. So these potting mix not only dries really fast, but it allows the root to really grip into the media, fooling it into thinking that it's climbing. And this is how they can produce these beautiful fenestrated leaves. You want to let them dry out completely between watering because they are very prone to overwatering. And with most Monsteras, you do want to give them something to climb on for them to produce larger leaves. They are very pest free, so I've not had any pest issues with any of my variegated Monsteras, but I do give them a balanced NPK ratio fertilizer, and I think this is quite important. For most of my plants, I do give them a higher nitrogen fertilizer, but for these guys, I want them to produce less chlorophyll because nitrogen promotes chlorophyll production. And this theory is untested, so please take this with a grain of salt. But to be on the safe side, give your variegated plants a more balanced fertilizer. I want to sterilize my cutting shears. You could use alcohol, but I'm just passing by the stove, so that works as well. And here is the sucker that we're working with today. Look at how beautiful the variegations are in the beginning. And one thing about the yellow variegated Monsteras, when they come up with a new leaf, the variegation does not appear at all. You need to give them about a month or two before their variegation appears. It's easy to believe that they have reverted because they do take a while for the variegation to come out. As you can see, variegation on one side, green on one side, and this is not good. But at some point, this plant started putting out only green leaves. And as you can see, this is actually quite beautiful, quite magnificent. And correct me if I'm wrong, but all the yellow variegated Monsteras that I've seen so far are the Borsigiana variety, which means they're not the Deliciosa variety. They do not get that big. I think this is probably considered a mature size. It can get a little bit bigger than this, but the leaves do max out in size at some point. This is really well rooted into the wall, so I'm gotta be very smart about how to take out these roots. But also this is grounded, which is why it's doing so well. It's like growing like crazy. And if you look down the vine here, you will see some yellow variegated stripes, and that is what we want to have when we are making the cut. And you know what? These guys, they actually are very shy at producing the yellow lines or the yellow stripe variegations, unlike the white ones. Such as this, you can see that these are very variegated. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start cutting this up, chopping this up into single node cuttings, and then I'm going to separate the ones with which I think are gonna have good variegation with the ones that I think will not have a good variegation. And I will leave like a few nodes down below and a few leaves so that they can continue to produce new leaves as a mother plant. Quite a shame actually, because this green wall is taking shape and it's starting to look beautiful, but I can't wait to cut this off too because there's some plants behind it that is a bit deprived of light, so this will provide some areas for the plants to grow in. Ideally, this here should have grown inside this I don't know what you call this balcony. The shoot should have gone through that, but I missed it, and so it's not looking very pretty right now, if you know what I mean. It's been a while since I propagated Monsteras. I'm actually very excited to do that. Now I see that these guys are stuck here to the wall. So what I'm gonna do is, you're gonna find me very dramatic here. I'm just gonna cut it off like right here. And then, let me see, I should actually wet this before I made the cut because it's easier for me to remove the aerial roots from in there. Yeah. All right, there. So this is a top cutting and it's actually quite precious for us. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna seal the wound here, and then I'm just going to be planting this into like a pot and let this become its own Monstera. How cool is that? Now you can see here the top cutting, it's got very, very viable aerial roots. This is going to take off very, very quickly and very easily. But yeah, this is not the desired plant that we want because it doesn't have any more variegation. All right, so I've done potting up the top cutting here. Look at how big the leaves are. This is quite beautiful. And I want to show you inside. Decided to keep it in a very tight pot, and I give it a moss pole. As you can see, that aerial root back there will be casing the moss pole, growing into this pole. And this will allow this to keep on pushing out big leaves if it grabs onto the pole very early on. And then we may have stunted growth for the next leaf. We may have 1 or 2 smaller leaves. And then this root will develop very quickly. It will run out of space very quickly, and I will upsize the pot when it's time. But this will grow on to become its own Monstera. So I gotta find a place to grow this. I'm running out of space actually. It took a while to get the roots free, and actually in most cases I just cut the roots off from the wall because it's impossible. The roots are just really, really deep into the cocoa fiber wall. But very quickly I want to show you some of the variegation. As you can see here, the variegation is running along where the aerial root is, but this is missing the growing eye here. So the growing eye here does not coincide with the variegation. So this is why this plant has produced only green leaves, because the variegated portion of the stem is not where the growing eye is. The growing eye is coming out from somewhere else. So yeah, if the growing eye came from this portion of the node, we would have enjoyed some variegation. And then next, let's keep on looking at the other cuttings. So that one is kind of a no. I'm starting to do a yes and no pile here. And this one here, let's see. Yeah, as you can see the line here, it looks like it's going through the growing eye. Let me see if I can remove this sheath. Yeah, you see that? So this one has potential, but I think it's also missing a lot of the variegation. As you can see, the variegation is a little bit more to the left, but this one I think it's in the yes pile. And next one here, as you can see, this is the variegation following it down. It may coincide a little bit with the growing eye, but not a lot. So I wouldn't place my bet on this. This is probably a no for me. Now this one, I pulled it a little bit hard from the mother plant, I'm sorry, and I broke the aerial root a bit. But this one, it does seem, it's from the bottom of the plant, so it is a bit hard to get to at the time. But if you look at the growing eye in the middle of the screen, it does look like it might coincide, but it's too woody and too dirty to tell. So I'm gonna put this in a no pile. So far we've only got one plant with a definite yes variegation. This one here, let me take the sheet off carefully. Yeah, the growing eye is somewhere inside there, as you can see. I'm not gonna disturb it too much, but I think this one might be a yes. Do you see how it's coinciding? This is the growing eye right in the middle of the screen. It should coincide with some variegation. So I'm gonna put that in the yes pile. This one, the growing eye is actually over here, and hard to tell with this one. No, I would put this in a no pile. So when you buy a variegated Monstera, see if you can get variegation throughout the stem that's evenly distributed. That's how you can get a stable variegated plant. This one, oh boy, this is impossible to tell. It's quite, let me see if I can clean this up. Yeah, I cleaned it up, but it's not possible to tell where the growing eye is. So this is in a no pile. By the way, something in a no pile may turn variegated because the maybes are in that pile. And then let's check this one out. I don't, the growing eye here, oh, it does coincide. Did you see that? There is a stripe that goes right through the growing eye. So this one might work out. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and start potting these up. Basically, kind of let both ends of the node not be in the soil, when normally in the past I would just have stuck the whole thing in the soil. And don't get me wrong, that is actually quite excellent. There's a high success rate. But I'm trying out this method because I did a propagation of the variegated UPI at Mr. Noldy's place, and he does this to all his Monstera cuttings. So I'm trying this one out to see. So with the 3 cuttings that is a yes, I'm gonna do this, filling this up with potting media. Aeroid potting mix is my go-to. And just so you know, I did have an aeroid potting mix brand that I did before, but I am discontinuing that because I have way too many businesses to run. And honestly, my business was a bit neglected. I wasn't doing any marketing, I wasn't doing any promotion. And my business partner, I feel bad for him. Like, I don't know. I mean, he made the effort to produce the potting media and it just wasn't going anywhere. Like the business didn't really grow, especially when the plant market kind of collapsed. And I didn't do much, to be honest. I didn't do much to try to save it because I was so busy with my own things. So yeah, the potting media that I had before, I'm no longer running it. I think it's better to let it go and focus on content. Just a bit of update for you guys. And yeah, I want to keep the cut ends of both of these a bit free away from the potting media. And we will do one more, the last one. And I'm gonna plant this in here. Oh, this is weird because the leaf, hang on. I want the leaf to be facing up, but it doesn't want to go up. So, you know what, this is a little bit strange. Yeah, I may have to do this. This is so strange for me. Okay. Let's see if this method works out well. And then I want to get a bonsai wire to kind of secure it in place. This is a little bit weird, but it should work out, I think. It's my first time doing it this way, but let's see. Alright, for the remaining ones, the ones that we think is a no, this one has decent roots, this one has decent roots, and I'm gonna be a bit more selective. Okay, so these ones are okay, but for these three, it doesn't have a lot of roots at all. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna dunk them in this vessel, and I'm gonna do water propagation. I'm gonna wait for roots to appear before I move them into soil, if it survives. Not all of them are going to make it, to be honest. This is just the way it works with propagation. Okay, now it's looking quite beautiful like this. Okay, so for these guys, basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to sterilize this with like activated charcoal on the wounds, and then where I made the cut. And then I'm just going to plant these into an aeroid potting mix and just let it root. That's very simple. All right, guys, so this is done. So these are the not so variegated ones. And just so you know, when you buy a variegated Monstera, the leaf does not determine the variegation. It is the node that determines the quality of the variegation for the subsequent plant to come from it. Because sometimes we buy them as a young plant, so we don't know. And these three up here are the ones with a lot of variegation potentially. So let's see, let's bet our horse money on these. And down below, this is where the water propagation is happening. So I'll give you guys a few months update. I think we got 9 plants out of this. And also we have the mother plant. Look how bare this area became. But the mother plant is down here. And as you can see, there are a few nodes. Down here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I counted 5. There may be some in the soil. So hopefully more than one growth point activate from this mother plant, and we can enjoy some variegated plantlets out of the mother plant that will grow and fill up this space. Here is a 3 weeks update, and I have really bad news. So 3 of the cuttings, our prime cuttings, have rotted off, and it's actually my fault. So I was gone for 2 weeks, and I did notice that this pot was always wet. It was up on the shelf right here. So I have a feeling what's happening is that there may be some leaks coming from the rain up above, dripping down this wall here, right on here. Because when I came back, I did notice that this pot was a little bit wet, and I thought that the girls might have overwatered it. So then what I did was I just left it there, and I did not water this at all, just to let it dry out. But about 10 days later, it's still sopping wet inside without me watering it. So there's some freak accident where I think rainwater just dripped down here, even though my space is completely closed up. So yeah, all 3 of the prime cuttings rotted off, and I wanted to show you what it looks like. You see this mushy bits here. That's like rot right there, and there's no way for a new growing eye to come out anymore because this is already bad. And to show you some of the worst results, this one's on the table. The roots came completely off, so the roots are still in there, and this is mushy. I'm sorry, I should have checked on this. I should have acted sooner. When I got back, I should have repotted it, but I got busy and I was too confident that the pot would dry up on its own. But yeah, so this is no good. On the bright side, these are the less desirable variegated plants. We still could get variegation from here, but the chances are quite low, and they're still doing okay. I do know that this one was just watered today. It does dry out between watering, and the leaf is still very healthy. As you can see, the node is still holding on strong. And then the ones in water propagation, and the ones in the water propagation is still doing okay. In fact, some roots have emerged. You see that? So maybe for beginners, the safest way to propagate these is by water propagation. And then finally, these guys are also still holding on strong. As you can see here, the nodes are still pretty healthy. I would also like to show you the mother plant here. It's put out it's put out 2 growth point. You see one over here where my finger is, and then down here. So 2 active growth point has emerged from here, giving me plenty chance of variegation. That's the top cutting, living right up there. And that one, I'm pretty sure it dries up between watering because every time I water it, the potting media is bone dry. So that is still holding on strong. Welcome to a 6 weeks update. This one has put out a new leaf. I'm pretty sure this is going to be all green. This one surprisingly put out a beautiful variegated leaf over here. Look at how nice that looks. And this one here is an all green leaf. It's just waiting for the next growth to come in. And if you pull out these ones slowly, they were growing. You can see it's doing really well. There's some shoots coming out from here. Let me see, they're a little bit slower than the ones grown in soil, but the roots look really healthy and satisfying to look at. That's amazing. This one looks like it might be variegated, but it's too early to tell. So I'm gonna be repotting this into a potting media, and I'll give you guys an update for this. But let's quickly look at the mother plant. Right there, look at that. It's put out some big, gorgeous baby leaves here that are wonderfully variegated. My gosh, I really don't regret doing this at all. This is like one of the best decisions that I've made recently. So yeah, and look at how beautiful it looks next to this Epipremnum amplissimum yellow variegated. Welcome to a 15 weeks update. That's quite a while. This one here has no variegation, the first one that I pulled out. They've been living under here on this basket. And this one here has given me a beautiful new leaf. Look at that. So that is the leaf that we propagated with. The first leaf that appeared, and subsequently the second one. And sorry, that away. And this one I think will turn out quite beautiful. So look at how balanced the variegation are on both sides. And this one, I'm also very happy about. Ooh, what happened here? This one is bent. But this is the leaf that we propagated from. And there you go. I believe this is the new leaf. Yeah, this is the first leaf. And it is the new leaf that is hardening off. If it matures, this is gonna turn into something beautiful, I think. And this is that top cutting. I don't know how to film this because it's like pressed all the way at the corner here, but it is looking quite beautiful here. There's a bit of variegation there if you see that, but I don't see any on the new leaves. So maybe this is one that I will keep and grow somewhere around the house, but I haven't decided where yet. But for now, it is stuck here in this corner because I've run out of space. Look at all that aerial roots that's coming out over there. I should probably repot and move this soon. But let me get around to rescuing other plants first because I have other plants that need more urgent rescuing. And down here in this ugly corner, sorry, there's like a bunch of stuff around here, but this one has turned into an all green Monstera, and this one as well. But look at that new leaf, it's so cute. It's such a nice shape on the leaf. The green ones can also be beautiful. So it's grown out of this little pot, and I think this is one that I might actually give to one of my neighbors. I want to try to get them to get into plants. This one, this is the leaf that we propagated from. And then the first leaf, I think something happened. It was probably overwatered at some point. I probably should figure out a different placement for this, because as you can see, this is a bit wet. So when it gets rained on, some of the water do drip down here, and it is looking a little bit wet here. So I'm slightly concerned, but then the next leaf is okay, and the newest leaf is beautiful. I really don't regret propagating this at all. Now, I was actually looking around for the mother plant and I couldn't find it, and I think this was it. Unfortunately, something happened to it. It was probably overwatered and it rotted off, maybe because it has much less leaves than before, and yeah, and it couldn't handle that the same volume of water as before. Oh no. But yeah, keep an eye out for your garden, you guys. But this is normal, this happens. So far I have 3 new plants and I'm happy to have them. I will grow one out for myself, but I will probably swap the other 2 for something else. Yeah, I guess that's that. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you've enjoyed it and learned something out of it. Feel free to DM me if you have any questions regarding plant care and propagations. Meanwhile, do take care and stay safe. I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Thank you, Patreon members, for supporting the channel. Should you consider joining as a member, the Patreon link is Sean from Only Plants. It can also be found in this video description. I've started producing bonus contents for members. These include plant hauls, plant shopping, and mini bite-sized adventures. The same bonus contents will also be unlocked for you if you join to become a YouTube member of the channel. There is a monthly membership fee as small as a cup of coffee a month. Simply go to Only Plants channel page and click join. Your contributions help me grow the channel, do better content, and have a better quality of life. For that, I thank you from the bottom of my heart.